Good morning, everybody. Shefa bracha v'atzlacha. We are in the last parasha from Sefer Vayikra, Bechukotai. And it's very interesting when we look in the parasha. From one side we have beautiful blessing, and from the other side, unfortunately, we have curses. But we are going to go into the beginning of the parasha to understand something very interesting. The Torah tells us, "Im bechukotai telechu, ve'et mitzvotai tishmoru." 1 minute, let me find it. Okay. "Im bechukotai telechu, ve'et mitzvotai tishmoru v'asitmu otai." If you follow my laws and keep my mitzvahs and do them, v'natati gishmechem b'intam, I'll give you the rain and in the time, v'natna haaretz yivula, and the land will be fruitful, and or the tree is going to give fruits, and more blessing, and unbelievable. So first of all, it gives us a strange, interesting point, because normally we all always say, the Gemara says, "Sachar be'ai alma leika." There is no reward in this world. The reward is only in the next world. And here we see, it looks like there is a reward here. If you follow my laws, you do the mitzvahs, you will be fruitful, you will have all the good things of this world, which is physical things, which is looks like a reward. So first of all, we have to understand, the Chafetz Chaim says, it's impossible to get a reward in this world from a very simple reason. The reward is so big that it's nothing, it cannot even exist here. It's too big to be in this world. What does it mean? For example, to understand, let's imagine to yourself that a guy goes to the grocery shop or goes to the supermarket and he wants to buy a bottle of milk. And he's got in his hand a diamond. For example, the most expensive diamond, I think last time I checked, is a huge diamond, which is around $30 million. Now, you go to the Makolet and you want to buy milk with a diamond that is worth $30 million. What is the guy going to tell you? So I'm sorry, I cannot sell you anything because I haven't got the change. Even if I sell my shop and sell the whole street, I still haven't got 30 million. And that's what Chafetz Chaim says. In this world, to get a reward, it's impossible. It's too big. It's bigger than this world. Unbelievable. So what are we talking here? Im bechukotai telechu, ve'et mitzvotai tishmoru v'asitem otam, v'natati gishmechem b'eitam. So there are a lot of very interesting explanation on this pasuk. By the way, Or HaChaim HaKadosh, Rabbi Chaim Ibn Atar, gives on this pasuk 42 explanations. Beautiful explanations. Some of them are brilliant, unbelievable. So we realize that this pasuk is really very important. And one of the simple explanation, maybe, for us to understand it in a very simple way, is Kadosh Baruch Hu tells us, "Im lo torati yomam v'layla, chukot shamayim va'aretz lo samti." If my Torah is not going to be kept day and night, I'm going to cancel all the laws of nature, all the chukei hateva. In other words, im bechukotai. If we keep the law of the Torah, so the law of the land is also going to be kept. In other words, in order to work this world from the physical side, we need the spiritual side of the Torah. And without it, there is no world. So what the Torah is really telling us, you have to understand. If you keep the Torah, the rain is going to come, and the trees are going to give fruits. But if you don't keep the Torah, nothing is going to exist. There's no rain, no nothing. If we go back to Sefer Bereshit, the same thing happens there. God creates the whole world, but it says the whole world waited for Adam HaRishon to be created in order for him to pray for the rain, and then the rain came and the whole circulation of nature started. So this is our job. This is why we're here. So now we understand. Then there is another interesting thing, another very important point for us to understand. So what does it mean there is no reward in this world? We know that אלה דברים שהאדם אוכל פירותיהם בעולם הזה, והקרן קיימת לעולם הבא. There are things that the fruits of the deed that you do exist in this world. And yet, the real reward is waiting for you for the next world. So what are those fruits and what does it mean? I like the beautiful explanation that explained that our all existence here is, as we said, in order to get closer to God. That closer to God is to love what God created, love God, etc., etc. Now God is telling us. It's very similar to a high-tech firm. And by the way, it's not only high-tech firms. I remember Teva, the pharmaceutical firm. Years ago, they used to be my customers. And they bought from me even ping pong tables and other things. And when even they used to buy from me also the office furniture. And when I used to come there, I was amazed to see that in every floor they had a corner which you had a coffee machine and drinks and sometimes fruits and cakes. And I asked, well, what's this? Is this a factory? Is this offices or it's a restaurant? What? And then it explained me the guy, you see, we want our workers to feel good. We give them all the best condition that we can give them. So they have coffee when they want. And they, by the way, they have lunch. The lunch is like a 5-star hotel. Unbelievable. And at that time, in the beginning, I didn't understand what's the meaning of it. But later on, I understood how clever this system is. First of all, they didn't give very high salaries to the normal workers. But they gave them such good conditions that nobody wanted to leave. It's like I used to have a friend, and good condition is not only the physical condition, also the attitude to the worker. They used to do to have for the kids, if they are at the holiday, the summer holiday, they used to have summer camps for the kids, and they did all those things for the families, and they really, that everybody, a worker, felt like he is at home, and that like made people to stay there and not move to another firm, even though sometimes they could have get a better salary. I had a friend in high tech, and he used to work for a firm. He was very good. And one day somebody came to him, approached him, and gave him an offer. I'm going to give you a very high job. You're going to be the vice president of the firm, and you're going to get double the salary you're getting today. This is tempting. So of course he left the firm and he went to work with this guy. I think half a year later I'm meeting the same friend. And how is it? Our thing, he says, yeah, how is the new firm? He says, what new firm? I left there, I got back to the old firm. He says, why? He says, you have to understand. Yes, he gave me a better salary and like a better status, but the real thing in real life, everything that I did, when it was successful, he took the credit. When there was a failure that he did, for example, he mostly did them, he blamed me. And that way he treated me was really, I felt humiliated. So I decided it's not worth. I don't want this big salary. I don't want the title. I want to go back to a firm where people love me, appreciate what I do, even though I am earning less money. But I feel good. And this is exactly the point. Unfortunately, in real life, people don't realize it always. For example, if we go back to the high-tech companies, today they have all those conditions. It's not a salary. It's conditions, work condition for what? For you to do the job in the best way you can. But imagine to yourself, somebody comes, and in the morning, first of all, he goes, has a coffee, then breakfast. Then he has to rest from the breakfast, heavy on the tummy. Then he goes to the gym to take down the breakfast. Then he talks with a few friends, and then there is lunchtime. So he goes to eat lunch. And after lunch, you're tired. You just go and sleep in the restroom for an hour or two. And then 5 o'clock tea. And this is the way he is working. What do you think is going to happen? The boss is going to call him after a week. Maybe even he's going to give him a month. And tell him, Yankale, my dear Yankale, sorry, take your stuff and get out. You are fired. He says, why? What did you think wrong? You didn't do anything. You were eating and drinking and enjoying all the facilities of the firm, but you didn't do any work. He says, why? Well, so everybody was... No, not everybody. Everybody was using those tools we gave, the conditions we gave, the coffee and the cakes and the lunch and the gym. in order to improve the work, to appreciate what they get and do much better job. And that's the idea. And this is exactly what we are praying for. And we have to understand, when God gives us all those good things, those are not, this is not a salary. It's working condition in order for us to do the job in the best way. In other words, it's not why we're here for the beautiful car, the beautiful home, beautiful clothes, vacations. That's not why we're here. Those are tools for us to get closer to God. And if we understand and realize it and act accordingly, im bechukotai telechu, if we follow the laws and mitzvotai tishmoru and keep the mitzvahs and do them, v'asitem otam, v'natati gishmeim, I will give you the best conditions for you to fulfill your task in life. But we have to understand what's the meaning of it from our side. We have to use those tools and understand that those tools are not what we are looking for in this life. We are looking for in this life is to get closer to God and use all those things, and we can pray and ask for the best tools, the best parnasa, the best house, the best car, the best everything. Have vacations, holiday, enjoy life. But only from one reason: to worship God, to do the right in the eyes of God. And if God sees that we use all those tools wisely, He's going to give us better tools. But unfortunately, if we're not going to use the tools wisely, im bechukotai lo telechu, says the parashat, and I don't want even to read, im bechukotai timasu, vet mishpati taitig al nafshechem libilti asot et, and you're not going to keep the mitzvahs. You're going to take all the tools I tell you and think that this is the mission, this is the task, this is what we're working for beautiful holidays, good food, clothes. If you go this way and you don't keep the mitzvahs, you don't do your job, I will take everything from you and I will make your life miserable. And we have to understand, the Torah is not a story. The Torah is telling us a very simple thing. And this is the lesson maybe of our parsha. The Torah tells us we came to this world for what? For what? Think for a minute. We came to this world to do a job. And while we're doing the job, God is giving us tools, abilities, talent, facilities to do the job in the best way we can. So each one of us is going to get the best tools for him. And we all wish that we have the best tools in due respect. We want to have good parnasa. We want a nice home. We want holidays. We want nice food. We want a nice car. We want a good family. Yes, it's no problem. As long as we understand and use those things in order to get closer to God. And we have to get, one of the beautiful explanations of Or Chaim HaKadosh is that im bechukotai telechu ve'et mitzvotai tishmoru v'asitem otam. He says a beautiful thing. If we follow the laws of God and make and do the mitzvahs, we will get to the point that we're doing it. We get used to do them, so we'll find ourselves, like David HaMelech says, when I want everything, when I work in the morning and I went, always my foot will lead me to the base midrash, to learn Torah. Raglai movilot oti lebeit midrash. It's like when I was a kid, my grandma, my Oma, used to live in Kfar Malal, and the neighbor had a donkey. As kids, and we liked to ride this donkey. Now, we didn't have a lot to ride, where to ride for, so we used to go into the trees, to the pardes, and out, do a circle. And it got to the point that we didn't need to do anything with the donkey by itself. Went in and out, the same way, in and out, because he got used to it. So it's the same way when we are going to work every morning, and we're driving the same way. And one morning we have to go somewhere else. But we go like automatically where? To work, because we are used to it. It says, Or Chaim HaKadosh, if you will make the mitzvahs in a way that you're going to so used to it that this for you is going to be the normal way of life. You're going to do it automatically. But don't forget for a minute that that's no good if you're doing it only automatically without thinking. But the thing is, you have to, when you start, all the things when you start are heavy, hard. It's hard to start. But when you get used to it, it's getting easier and easier. And that's the idea. The Torah tells us a system. If you're going to keep the mitzvahs, if you're going to go in the way of the Torah, maybe in the beginning it's going to be hard. But then you will get used to it and you will do it with no problem. Again, I'm saying, the idea is to get to the point, not get to the point that mitzvat anashim melumada, that you're doing the mitzvahs just like an automat. That's not the idea. The idea is to understand that beneath everything, there is only one way, the way of the Torah. And if you do it enough, you will get to this thing that automatically everything you do is going to be in the way of the Torah. That's the idea. And that's the thing. אם בחוקותיי תלכו ואת מצוותיי תשמעו ועשיתם אותם. And made another interesting point from one of the explanation of Or HaChaim HaKadosh, 42 explanation. It says, אם בחוקותיי תלכו ואת תשמעו, says sometimes in life we want to do a mitzvah. We want to go in a certain way, but unfortunately we cannot make it. Says Or HaChaim HaKadosh, if your intention is real, from inside, ועשיתם אותם, God is going to consider that you made the mitzvah. Though in real life you didn't do it. You didn't make it. You couldn't make it for who knows why. But you wanted to make it. And if you had the opportunity, you would have done it. Even if you haven't done it, God is going to say, "Va'asitem otam." Beautiful. Understand and realize that in this beautiful pasuk that starts the parsha, so much to learn, so many beautiful explanations for us to understand that yes, there is no problem enjoying this physical world as long as you understand why you're here and what are you doing. If we follow the laws of God, God, Be'ezrat Hashem, is going to give us the best tools in the world to worship Him, to do the right in the eyes of God, especially now, at that time that we're in the middle of Sfirat HaOmer. We are counting the Omer in order to build ourselves, to be better people, getting out of the 49 gates of Tumah into the 49 gates of purity, to the level of the 50th day, which is Matan Torah, when we are going to receive the Torah from heaven. And this is happening every year. It's like the Rav Dessler explains, it's not that the time flies, it's you are walking in time. The time doesn't move. It's a philosophical thing, but that's the real thing. Like in the Kabbalah, they say that this whole world is a fake. It's a virtual world, like a computer game. And if we understand and realize it, so I understand why we're here, and we do the right in the eyes of God, and follow the laws of God, and do them. And another explanation, and with this we finish our lesson today. Says Or HaChaim HaKadosh, אם בחוקותיי תלכו ומצוותיי תשמעו ועשיתם אותם. It's not enough to learn the mitzvahs and to keep them. You have to make it. You have to do something. You have to make the ishtadlut. ועשיתם אותם. Some people think if they sit in the yeshiva and they learn from morning to night and do nothing about the physical world that they are in, like for example some other religions, the Christians for example, they think that in order to be holy you have to isolate yourself from all the joys of this world and sit alone with God. Like the Buddhist, also the same thing. Wrong. This is not the idea. The idea is to follow the laws of God, to learn the Torah, and put them into practice in this physical world. And use the beautiful tools that God gave us in order to get closer to God, closer to our friends, closer to our family, and closer to receive the Torah, כאיש אחד בלב אחד. All the best.